There's one AI tool that I genuinely cannot live without and that has brought me at least 3 times productivity gains and actually helps me code at least 3 times faster. Now the tool that I'm talking about here is called Wispr Flow, or as I'm going to refer to it for the rest of the video, Flow. Now simply put, this is a dictation tool. It lets me type by speaking into my microphone. Now you might think, okay, that's not revolutionary, right? We have like dictation all the time. We've had that for, 10 plus years, but this is significantly different. And just simply put, it is a way better dictation tool than any tool that I've ever used, which is extremely important when you're using it, thousands of words every single day. So let me show you a quick demo of how it works, and I want to dive into the features and essentially convince you to start using this, because when I started using it, my productivity just massively skyrocketed in almost every single application. And full disclosure here, I'm really fortunate that I was able to team up with Flow for this video. I was actually using them long before they reached out to do a partnership, but now they're a sponsor of this channel, which is fantastic because I use them anyways. Point is, let me show you how this works. Okay, so I'm in ChatGPT. I've got Flow running. You can see that by this little kind of icon in the bottom, which is transparent. If you click it, it starts dictating, and then you can right click it and you'll get a few settings as well. Works on Windows, Mac, etc. Okay. Now what I can do is use a keybind on my computer, which is what I prefer. In my case, it's the Control Windows key, and then I can start talking. So let's do something like this. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm just giving a quick example of how I talk into the computer and why this is so much faster than typing and how this is a better dictation tool than built-in dictation. And here we go. You see that I get everything here. Now, the interesting thing is that this automatically fixes my grammar. It will actually list things out in point form. It works directly inside of tools like Cursor, Windsurf, AI editors. It can tag files. It works in WhatsApp. It works in Discord. Just anywhere you need to type, this thing works, and it works better. For example, and I know this isn't going to seem super impressive, but it's a big deal when you use this a lot. Watch what happens when I list something out. I have a grocery list. I need to collect apples, pears, bananas, strawberries, and other miscellaneous fruit. And notice that it actually puts it like with the dashes correctly, puts the colon, doesn't just dictate what I'm saying, it actually uses AI to generate the correct transcription on what I'm trying to say. Even if I do something like, I'm not really sure like what I'm kind of trying to think about. And you see that it removes all of those filler words except for the ones that I'm intentionally putting here. So if you're fumbling your words or you're saying something incorrectly, it automatically fixes that for you. Now that's just me going kind of on and on here about why this is really good, but I want to explain why this makes me code 3 times faster. So I just opened up the Flow settings here. The way I got there is I went to the indicator and I just went to go to settings, and it brought me to this page. Now I'm rarely in this page, but the one thing that I wanted to show you is my stats, just to prove to you why I can code significantly faster. So see how it says 202 words per minute. If that's obviously top 1% of all Flow users, you may not speak as quickly as I do, but I can only type at realistically maybe 60 to 70 words per minute. And I'm not 100% accurate. I make mistakes. And especially when I'm prompting, I find that I type even a little bit slower because I have to think more carefully, and then I have to kind of remember what I thought about and type it into the computer. But with Flow, I can just stream my consciousness directly into all of these LLMs, and I don't lose any of my immediate thoughts. Now in practice, what this allows me to do is not just get more words into the AI faster, but to actually provide more details and context that I honestly probably would not have written if I had to actually manually type it out. So I'm going to show you an example now by diving into my code editor so you can see how I use it there. But a few quick features to note. Obviously, you got the stats. I think that's cool. And then you have all of the previous transcriptions, right? So I can't really show all of them because it is sensitive information. But for example, a lot of times when I use previous dictation tools, either they don't work, or they only get half of what I'm saying, or they mess it up, or the app randomly crashes and now my transcription that I spent 5 minutes speaking is completely gone. Here it tracks all of it, and I do actually come to this pretty often, especially when an app crashes or I have to refresh the page or something and I lose the previous LLM response, so I can just copy the transcription that I used. There's notes, there's snippets, there's actually variable tagging and stuff, which I'll show you, but for now, let's hop into the code editor because you guys are developers and that's overall what you care about. Okay. So let's say I'm here inside of Cursor, right? Now I could do something like, hey, can you change the name of my application to be, dev launch vault. Okay, so I can do that, and that took, I don't know, you guys can time me 11 seconds, 12 seconds, etc. But I can speak pretty fast, right? So watch, if I go to Flow, hey, can you change the name of my application to be dev launch vault? And it'll pick it up, and boom, it puts it in there. I think probably about 2 to 3 times faster than if I was actually typing it, again, even with the correct grammar, and it's able to determine kind of what I'm meaning. Now that's fine, that's just a simple example. However, you can actually directly reference variables, files, and use this with more context inside of Cursor. So just for an example, I've gone to this what you get section.tsx, and this has a bunch of kind of features that you get in this new product landing page that I'm working on. It's the dev launch resource vault. Anyways, I could obviously manually add one, right? You know, I could copy it, I could paste it, I could manually write what the new title is, what the new description is. I could maybe use like the autocomplete directly inside of here, or I could go, you know, and I could prompt it out and ask it what I want. Additionally, I could just use Flow, which is what I use now pretty much all the time. So let me show you how this works and how it actually tags the correct files. So I'm going to say this. Can you please go inside of the what you get section.tsx file and add additional features? I need features that sound unique, that are not repetitive, and that will help sell this product. I want you to brainstorm a few different ideas, share them with me, and then get approval from me before you start making the modifications inside of that file. Again, make sure they're unique, to the point, not repetitive, and help sell the product, but also are accurate based on what you know about the product and what you see on the landing page so far. Okay, and wait a second here, and you can see that it automatically actually tags the file for me and adds the context. So this is a feature that's built into Flow, right? It can just figure out what the file is. You can see it gives me all of the grammar and the punctuation. It's extremely fast. And then we can run the prompt, and we can just wait for it to actually kind of do this, and let's see if it works. All right, so we got the output here. Obviously, I could continue going along that path, but I want to show you a few other things that I do here typically with Flow. So as well as referencing files, it is able to reference variables and actually use pre-built snippets. So for example, you may have a command that you use all the time that you don't want to actually read out. In that case, you could use Flow to set that up. So let me show you how that works. So if I just open up the settings here, you can see that I've created this snippet. I had to delete my other ones because they have a lot of personal data that, again, I can't share. But I called the snippet Docker run. So the way you do this, you go add new, you give some name, and then you give what you want the expansion to be. You can also share this with the team if you have those team features enabled. And in my case, it's like a pretty long, complex Docker command that I probably don't want to speak out into the computer. So now what I can do is I can just go here and I can say Docker run. And then when I do that, it just automatically kind of fills that in with the snippet. So you could do this for an email. In my case, for coding, I'll do it for long commands or long snippets that I need to copy a lot. And then rather than having like a notepad with all these snippets and I'm copying and pasting them, or using the Windows clipboard, where you can have multiple paste files and stuff, I just can use my voice, which is significantly better. So I can say, hey, can you analyze this command, Docker run? And then when I do that, it just directly puts the command inside of here, right? And then I could put enter and it can start analyzing it. And you guys can obviously see the value in having these pre-built snippets. So obviously outside of coding, there's a lot of use cases for this as well. For me, I just use it everywhere in pretty much any application, wherever my cursor is accessible, because that's how it works. And I want to explain why I would even use this in something like WhatsApp or Discord, as opposed to a normal voice message. Now, a voice message is fine. It's a quick way to convey information, but you kind of put the onus on someone else to listen to that message. I know a lot of times when people send me a voice message, it means I essentially need to stop, think, pause, and listen to it, and I don't have the written version. So I can't skim it, see if it's important, and I have to trust that they're not going to waste my time with a 5-minute long voice message. So in my opinion, it's always a little bit more respectful to send a text message that someone can decide if they want to read or not by just skimming through it. So that's typically what I prefer to do. But I'll even show you that if I were to use a built-in dictation tool or voice mode like the one here in ChatGPT, you don't get nearly as good of a result. Hey, send a message to my girlfriend May and tell her to go to the store and pick up apples, bananas, pears, blueberries, and other snack food. Also then send a message to my mom and tell her that Wispr Flow is a pretty cool tool to be using. Okay, and then we stop. It already takes significantly longer to actually come up with the dictation. And you can see here that first of all, it says May. That's not how you spell my girlfriend's name. I'm going to show you in a second. You can see Wispr Flow is this one word. It's spelled incorrectly, right? And just overall, the dictation is not as good. Now, if I go here, let's do the same thing. hey, send a message to my girlfriend May and tell her to go to the store and pick up apples, bananas, pears, blueberries, and other snack food. Also, then send a message to my mom and tell her that Wispr Flow is a pretty cool tool to be using. Okay, we can see that significantly faster, it picks up the message, puts it in the list format as we expected, and notice it uses the correct spelling for my girlfriend's name. Now, how does it do that? Well, because as soon as you correct anything inside of here, so if you do a dictation and then it said May, for example, and you switched it back to May, then Wispr detects that there's a special vocabulary that you have and uses that in the future. Now to prove that to you, right, like I can go here and you can see that there's 2 words that it's picked up recently. Again, I had to delete a lot of them because they're personal, but we have May, M-E-I. Flow automatically detected that this is a word in my vocabulary and it should use that instead of the standard spelling of the name May. And then same thing with Meta. Previously, it was giving me like M-E-T-T-A, and then it corrected it to be normal Meta, which is obviously how you spell that, relating to Facebook. So I'm just trying to show you that, yes, there is a difference between the built-in dictation or the voice modes, and there's a reason why I use this and why I'm promoting it, because it genuinely is just better and lets me code significantly faster. Now, there are tons of other settings you can go and mess with here, like you have notes, right? You can add your own notes. Personally, I don't really use that feature. Generally speaking, though, just the dictation is kind of the winner here, and the fact that it works very well inside of tools like Cursor and Windsurf. If you guys want to check it out, try from the link in the description. I know, of course, there's a sponsor, but genuinely I'm excited about this because I use it all the time, and I'm trying to encourage more people to use voice and be more productive. And I really see this as the future of really coding and just productivity in general, speaking rather than having to manually type everything, which is just significantly slower.